Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm here with Anthony Davis, who actually boxes like he's from the 1920s. Bully, 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 bully.
Put him up.
Yeah. Welcome back to the show. Actually, Anthony's going to be joining us for this hour because, believe this bullshit, Ben and his brothers are at the White House enjoying the Christmas party. So you may have heard, right? You may have heard that little shit went ahead, and he actually had the ability to get an interview with Joe Biden for this Midas Touch network, which is absolutely. But it makes perfect sense if you think about it. There's like 3.5 million subscribers and growing, and our viewership, whether it's here on Political Beatdown, my Mea Culpa podcast, my Michael Cohen YouTube, the Mycelis Brothers, Legal AF, all of the product here on the Midas Touch network exceeds that of both mainstream media as well as cable news. So Ben and his brothers ditched me. Like imagine that they could have fucking asked me, for God's sakes, if I wanted to go to DC. Again, I've been to the Christmas party, not during the Biden administration, previous one. It's a phenomenal event, and they really do the White House up something special. So that's where Ben is. But we're fortunate to have Anthony Davis with us today. Anthony, say hi to our brigaders.
Hello, brigaders. It is a true pleasure to be with you once again. It's my second time on Political Beatdown, and I feel like at least last time was a rehearsal. Now at least I know what's coming. And
right? There you go.
Yeah.
You have the beautiful British accent with the uncouth New Yorker. So look, I want to start with actually a matter that specifically deals with me. And I'm referring to the Manhattan District Attorney, the hush money determination that came down by Judge Juan Merchan yesterday. And in this decision and order, and I want to be clear about something, Anthony. This is a 41-page order and decision. So anybody who wants to now make a claim that Judge Merchan took this thing willy-nilly and so on, not accurate. This is 41 pages, in depth, touching on every single point that was brought out by Trump's counsel. Now, I stand very mixed in this, and we'll get to that after, but I want to get your take on it.
I have been amazed just in the last 24 hours that Donald Trump has come out yet again using language about Judge Merchan and the whole witch hunt thing and claiming that all of this is a combination of election interference. And he said it was like breaking the rules of the Constitution. I mean, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. He's literally saying anything, throwing it at the wall and seeing if it sticks. The fact that he has a personal vendetta, and as a previous president, a president-elect, that he's even allowed to say such horrific things about a judge out loud. Can you imagine if anybody else did that? It's so socially and morally unacceptable to be so abusive about the judiciary in this way. A respected judge also. And he just thinks it's normal.
Yeah, well, I think it's only fair to actually go through Trump's Truth Social response to Judge Merchan's decision, which, just in case you're not aware, refused to dismiss the case against him. And who knows when sentencing will be, and if sentencing will actually occur before inauguration of January 20th. So put it up. I want to show you what Donald Trump said in his post. And it says, breaking. In a completely illegal, psychotic order, the deeply conflicted, corrupt, biased, and incompetent acting Justice Juan Merchan has completely disrespected the United States Supreme Court and its historic decision on immunity. But even without immunity, this illegitimate case is nothing but a rigged hoax. Merchan, who is a radical partisan, wrote an opinion that is knowingly unlawful, goes against our Constitution, and, if allowed to stand, would be the end of the presidency as we know it. Merchan has so little respect for the Constitution that he is keeping in place an illegal gag order on me, your president and president-elect, just so I cannot expose his and his family's disqualifying and illegal conflicts. He further then said in the secondary post, I am the only political opponent in American history not allowed to defend myself. A despicable First Amendment violation. Merchan took the Manhattan DA's witch hunt that, according to all legal scholars, including Jonathan Turley, Ellie Honig, Andy McCarthy, Alan Dershowitz, Greg Jarrett, David Rifkin, Elizabeth Price, Foley, Katie and Andy Cherkansky, Paul Ingracia, and many others, is a non-existent case barred by the statute of limitations and should have never been brought, and though his fraud and misconduct gave it a semblance of life. While deranged Jack Smith was sent packing back to The Hague after losing all of his politically manufactured cases against me, Merchan, who is far worse and even more corrupt than Smith in his fight for my hopeless political opponents, just cannot let go of this charade. It is because of his conflicts and relations that he keeps breaking the law. I'm not sure why there's a question mark there. This has to stop. It is time to end the lawfare once and for all so we can come together as one nation and make America great again.
God. I mean, that last line takes the biscuit, doesn't it? Because we're talking, I mean, this is authoritarianism. Let's be absolutely clear what this is. This is the language of a dictator. You would have thought after winning the election, he might just let it all lie, just drop all the crazy stuff. But no, he's ramping it up more than ever. He is now seeking the retribution that he claimed he would. He's going to start suing people, and which we'll talk about a bit later. But I am so worried now that he's getting a taste for dictatorship. Like he's it's like an adrenal squirt in the back of his throat, right? He can taste it and it's delicious to him. And he knows that he has this immunity and now the presidency. What he doesn't respect, clearly in this case, is people that he sees as defectors or infidels. In this case, a judge. A judge. This is the language of Putin. This is the language of these types of autocrats and despots that we read about from history. And now it's happening here and playing out in real time. I thought I couldn't be more surprised, but I mean, just hearing you read it like that, it sends shudders down my spine.
By the way, it's not like this is the first time that I'm making these sort of proclamations in regard to, things that Trump has said and things that he intends to do. Anthony, I've been telling people for a long time now that Donald Trump is going to do what he says that he is going to do,
Everything
what he has said all along the campaign trail that he intends to do. Going back to 2015, he has called, for example, the press, right? Enemies of the people. He's called them fake news. He has attacked judges. He has attacked prosecutors. He has attacked the DOJ. He talks about the weaponization of the Department of Justice against him by the Biden administration, when in fact, as you all know, listen, just take a look at my book, look at the bottom part. It's how Donald Trump weaponized the United States Department of Justice against his critics. Hello, yours truly. I still have mixed feelings about what's going on here. And I have said it on this program before, and I think that I will say it again after we end up talking about Judge Merchan's order. See, I think they waited too long.
Yes.
I really do. They gave him, and that's why, you see, when Trump says certain things, he has the ability to make you focus on the tree, but ignore the forest. And in this specific case, what is the forest? Well, it's the rule of law. It's our democratic republic. It's understanding that everyone is supposed to be seen as equal in the eyes of the law. Donald Trump's superpower His superpower is he has the ability to make you forget that you're in the forest and only acknowledge one tree. And he successfully has done that. He's done that with delays. He's done that with appeals. He's done that with filing writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court again and again and again. And Alvin Bragg, many times you've heard me say it. Why they didn't bring the charge a year and a half earlier, why Cy Vance Jr., the previous district attorney, when he had Mark Pomerantz, a seasoned criminal lawyer, said that these cases that they have will 100% ultimately result in a conviction. But nope, Cy Vance didn't want to do that. They gave the ability to delay. Trump didn't even have to do anything. Washed his hands clean of that one. Cy Vance decided he's not running. Alvin Bragg wins. Lo and behold, fights with Mark Pomerantz, who wants the case brought on day number 2. Alvin Bragg says, no, I'm sorry, not going to happen. I need to do my own investigation. Fine. Takes over a year, before which they decide that they're going to do an indictment, despite all of the documentation that they had, all of the corroborating testimony. As far as I'm concerned, they gave him the chance to escape accountability, and they gave him a 1 in a billion chance. 1 in a billion. Not only do you have to win the nomination, you have to win the presidency of the United States, despite 2 impeachments, and then at that point in time, 4 indictments. But he did it. And now, is it really going to do anything to ultimately hold him accountable, to make him into a convicted felon as president of the United States? I'm mixed, very much so.
It's the projection that gets me. The way that he is able to claim that everybody else is at fault, everybody else is wrong, everybody else is compromised. And he's done this his whole life, as you know. Wherever he goes, it's everyone but him. And the irony of that is that, you know, the law has obviously struggled to keep up with him. He's had good lawyers over the years to protect him from, you know, the criminality or for convictions. But now it's not just that he got away with it. It's not just that he got away with January 6th, which in my opinion he should have been arrested for the very next day. It's not that he got away with all of these things, classified documents, stolen documents, you know, and I mean, even his relationship with Elon Musk in the last few months, effectively buying an election. Despite all of that, you would have gone like, okay, surely now there's enough to catch this guy, lock him up, put him away, throw away the key. No, he won the presidency.
Yep.
This guy won the presidency of the United States for a second time. Nobody else's face has shown up in our history of presidents here as a returning president. He must love that, being a returning president to the White House. I'd be very interested, and I'm sure you can shed some light on this, Michael, as to whether deep inside he knows that he had help winning that election, you know, from
No.
Or whether he thinks that he's worthy of it.
Yeah, well, 100% he believes he's worthy of it. 2, he doesn't believe that it was Elon Musk who bought him the president, because he didn't.
Or Russia or Iran or China.
Donald Trump won the election by a plurality.
Yeah.
For whatever the reason is, despite, you know, Joe Biden's blunder in terms of that debate. You know, if he wasn't feeling well, he should have said, you know what, I'm not feeling well. I apologize. We will do it again. Give me 3 days or something like that. People get sick. All right. Plain and simple. He was not on his game, and it was terrible. And how Democrats eat Democrats is just despicable. Now, take that and go ahead and say, you know, Donald Trump won the election. And a lot of people get angry at me, but one brigader turned around and said, people get angry at you because you are the king of truth. I will say what is legitimate. I'm not going to sit here and make shit up, right? So that, whatever your prurient desires, to hate the man become a reality. That's not what this show or
No, he clearly won the election. That's not in question. What's in question is the unconventional way that he won the election.
Okay, but
so it was a perfect storm, wasn't it?
Yes, Anthony. But this is exactly the point that I was trying to bring to the Harris campaign, who ignored every single thing that I would turn around and say to them. You cannot fight Donald Trump conventionally. He won in 2016 in an unconventional. He rose to the nomination by birtherism.
Yeah.
Anybody else would have been castrated, not him.
Yeah.
He won the nomination off of birtherism. And to think that you're going to go back to the old 1954 Democratic playbook with the same old people, the same old play, and so on. Yeah, I was at that DNC convention. Let me tell you, it was freaking wild. It was great. But you know what it was? It was a compilation of people, even if you didn't have a convention, who are still going to vote for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump takes a path which is different than all. You've never seen, as you said before, you have never seen a response to a judge who just ruled against you in the manner to which Trump has done, and has done going back years now.
Breaking with convention. I mean, it's like when he got that investor, the Chinese investor, to show up with $100 billion and did that press briefing about it a couple of days ago. And then on the spot says, will you make it 200 billion? Right? Literally tries to doorstep this poor guy and embarrass him and humiliate him if he says, no, I'm just going to stick with my 100 billion. Thanks very much. And I was like, right? Bless you. And I was like, what the frick is this? Is this the art of the deal? Yes. Is this Trump's negotiation style? Basically emotionally blackmailing somebody on national television?
Did he not do the same thing, by the way, in 2017 when he went to Saudi Arabia, came back with 75 billion? I'm sorry, 200 and it was like what did he come back with? 200 billion. And then he went to China, did the same thing. Then he went to the Emiratis and he got money out of them. He was coming back with $750 billion in investment money that at the time the Secretary of the Treasury, what was his name again with an M? Steve Mnuchin was going to float bonds against it and make it $7.5 trillion. Redo the entire United States, bridges, tunnels, roads, schools, this,
and it all went to shit.
Well, it just never happened.
Yeah.
And allegedly, according to, say, for example, China, they said that we never agreed to invest $250 billion.
So he does it as a photo op. It's like he's happy to do that kind of the performative aspect of it, but there's no follow-up. He did it with Foxconn. Do you remember talking about getting Foxconn to open their factories in the US, and there was like a sticking a shovel into the ground and the whole thing, and that never happened. Never happened.
Right. And at the end of the day, we'll see whether SoftBank, this guy ends up doing what he said that he's going to do, 100 billion or 200 billion. Who knows? But I want to move on, and I want to talk about Judge Merchan's specific order, because there are so many sections to this 41 page. He went through meticulous allegations that were brought up by counsel for Trump. That's Todd Blanche, Emile Beauvais, and Susan Necheles. Went through the specific points that they raise, and he digs deep into it in this 41 page. I'll tell you, I've been practicing. Well, now my license is, let's just say, stricken. I'll get it back, but right now, but my entire life, I've never seen an order and a decision 41 pages long with this level of specificity to every single statement, allegation, concern brought by Trump's defense counsel. Nothing to say. Cat got your tongue. Is that the cat's from Springfield, Ohio?
I thought I heard your doorbell and your pizza had arrived. So I was thinking, is it lunch break?
Not at 4:52.
Right, exactly. Snack, maybe a little afternoon snack. The meticulous nature of this judgment, the 41 pages as you describe, is done on purpose, though, isn't it? It's designed to have an answer for anything that Trump and his lawyers might present, because it's arguably a watertight case. And Donald Trump, as we know, just from those 2 Truth Social posts that you read out, is going to kind of stab at every opportunity and making references to things that people hadn't even thought of. And the idea that, this witch hunt is ongoing and that Merchan is somehow compromised. And Merchan knows that that's Trump's operation manual. So he does a kind of belt and braces version, doesn't he, to cover all bases. But that kind of doesn't matter to Trump, because Trump, in the same way as we were discussing him loving the photo op, his photo op is those Truth Social posts. That's him making his presentation, isn't it?
Yep. Well, look, when I tell you that Trump stands to his word, he stands to his word. When he said that he was going to, not capitulate, he's going to delay, he's going to now file to the Second Circuit here in New York. Then after that, he'll try to take that even to the Supreme Court. Merchan has the ability, nevertheless, to sentence him. Now, he could sentence him to probation and suspend the probation. By doing so, that now makes Trump into a convicted felon, because you only become a felon, by the way. A lot of people don't know this. The fact that the jury came back with the counts of guilt, that doesn't make you into a felon. It means that the case is over. You become a felon after sentencing. But going back to where I was saying, that Trump is living up to his promises. That's what I have been yelling from the rooftops all along. If he tells you what he's going to do, how about just listen to him? And so, look at what just happened as an example with ABC Disney in a settlement. $16 million. He sued them on the basis of defamation. He sued them, and I'm going to be on CNN tonight at 10 o'clock at night talking about this, because these are the things I used to do for him. I used to stop stories from coming out because they were derogatory, they were demeaning, they were defamatory, all right? And many of them were absolutely inaccurate.
How do you do that, Michael? If he said to you, you got to shut this down, how do you go about that?
You threaten the litigation, all right? And again, as a lawyer, that's what I did. I would express to them, you really don't want this litigation. Trump has his entire life used litigation as a tool. Well, let me tell you what this ABC settlement just did. It just validated everything that he had felt for the past God knows how many years, literally at least well before I started. And so here's Kyle Chaniering just in. A day after Trump and George Stephanopoulos were ordered to appear for depositions, they settled the case. ABC has agreed to make a $15 million contribution to Trump Presidential Museum Foundation and air an apology for mischaracterizing the E. Jean Carroll verdict, and understand what that was. By the way, you heard me say 16 million. It was 16 million. $1 million in legal fees, though I assure you he didn't pay $1 million in legal fees. This didn't even get to deposition. The mistake that was made is the way that they characterized the definition, the broad definition of rape by statute, though New York's is somewhat limited. All right. For whatever the reason is, they made a decision that they were going to settle this. Now, do you blame them? With the incoming president, who now will have somebody like a Pam Bondi, somebody who said that he will shut down, for example, NBC or MSNBC. He wanted to go against their president of the network. He wants to go against journalists. He wants to go against people for defaming him. Now, again, I'm going to say something. Let me let you chime in on this. Then I'm going to give you something I think is going to shock you.
The figure of 15 million I heard represented George Stephanopoulos' annual salary. And that's why they settled on that number, because it was almost like a poke at him, saying, we're going to take a year's worth of your money. And I find that very interesting. I also reckon that this is the start of the mainstream and corporate media caving to Donald Trump for the reasons that you just said, for fear of having their licenses revoked, whether it be through official channels or just being humiliated by him, because they have shareholders and they have an awful lot at stake. This is also the rise of fascism. This is also the proof of authoritarianism. The freedom of the press is an essential part of our democracy. But as we know, Trump and MAGA Republicans do not care for democracy. It is not in their wheelhouse. And so I do think we're going to see more of this, because people just simply don't know how to handle him. And as you said, we should listen to him and we should seek advice, like John Kelly did, like seeking advice from psychiatrists, how to handle this lunatic.
They don't know. Psychiatrists will not be able to tell you. I can tell you.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Let me be very clear about this. What Trump was claiming here in terms of the defamation action is somewhat similar to the way that the UK has defamation, where the winner gets legal fees, the loser pays both. All right. And they have a much less stringent defamation law than we have here in the United States, because there's, free and fair press clauses, there's First Amendment rights, and so on. I understand Trump's position on this. And it's one of the reasons I intend to go on CNN. Well, I am going on CNN tonight. First and foremost, let me be clear about it. When the lie comes out, or the misinformation, the disinformation, malinformation, take Donald Trump out of the equation. I myself have been the victim of thousands of lies told about me. We can start it with the Steele dossier. I've never been to Prague, never been to Czechoslovakia, never had 10 million in cash, never went went to pay off compromise for Paul Manafort's benefit. I don't own a property in Sochi directly next door to Vladimir Putin. My father-in-law is not the biggest real estate developer in Moscow. In fact, my father-in-law has never even been to Moscow. He was Ukrainian who came to the United States in 1973. Let me be very clear. I'll go one step further. Do you remember the lie that was told about me that I received $400,000 from President Poroshenko, the previous president of Ukraine, when I never met Poroshenko, never spoke to him, never lobbied for him, never did anything for him or anybody else, and I never received $400,000, nor do I have any knowledge of it until such time as the journalists started. Every fucking station, every newspaper outlet, Michael Cohen takes $400,000 to increase.
They run with it and then they ask questions later.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you know the harm and the damage that it does to individual? There's that old saying, what do you need to do to get your reputation back? You follow? I'm not all that disappointed in terms of a correction change. You see, it goes back to what I said to you before, Anthony. What Donald Trump has the ability to do, his superpower, make you focus on the tree and ignore the forest. The forest is what you were describing before as the First Amendment and the methodology to which authoritarianism rises, which is to take away a free and fair press. What he's doing is focusing on what we all know, that half the bullshit that you read in these newspapers are inaccurate. Why? Because everyone is fighting to have the breaking news story attached to their name for clickbaits and for money. And those examples that I gave you are but a small number of the lies that were told about me. There was a woman by the name of Louise Mensch who went ahead and claimed that I used an Israeli passport to get to Czechoslovakia, to Prague, and I must have a Israeli passport, being a Jew, right? And not only is it anti-Semitic, but it's also inaccurate, and I'm embarrassed to say.
Well, she's a terrible person. I remember her from my previous life in the UK.
Yep.
We have to take a break, Michael.
I'm embarrassed to turn around and to say that I've never been to Israel, and that's a lie. I do not. I have one passport. But yes,
Right.
You're right. We need to go to our first ad break. Anthony, put those dukes up because we're going to be back with more stuff right after this message. It's hot outside, and your nighttime bedroom temperature has a huge impact on your sleep quality. If you wake up too hot or too cold, I highly recommend that you check out Miracle Made's bed sheets. Miracle Made sheets are inspired by NASA, and they use silver-infused fabrics that are temperature regulating so that you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. Miracle sheets are luxuriously comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. And you know what? They feel as nice, if not nicer, than sheets used by some 5-star hotels. Using silver-infused fabrics inspired by NASA, Miracle Made sheets are thermoregulating and designed to keep you at the perfect temperature, again, all night long, no matter the weather, so that you get better sleep every single night. Stop sleeping on bacteria. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne. Sleep clean with Miracle. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.7%, get a look, 99.7% of bacterial growth, leaving them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. So there's no more gross odors too. Go to trymiracle.com/beat to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T, at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save, get a load of this, an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Now upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. And go to trymiracle.com/beat and use the code BEAT to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/beat to treat yourself. And thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode. You know when you discover a new binge-worthy show or a song that you bump on repeat and you just have to share it with your friends so that they too can experience just how awesome it is? Well, that's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal that there's no way that you can keep it to yourself. Look, I don't even want to begin to tell you with my wife, my 2 kids, how much money that I pay each and every month. This is just a great deal. And remember, friends don't let friends overpay for wireless. So say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month. And all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text that's delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. Now, to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go right now to mintmobile.com/beat. That's mintmobile.com/beat. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/beat. $45 upfront payment required. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabyte on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. So see Mint Mobile for details. And thank you, Michael, for those wonderful. Oh, yeah, that's me talking about myself. Thank you, Michael, for doing everything so good. Your ads. You should have your own. You should be actually a cartoon character. Quite frankly, I think you would be great. Anthony.
I could see you on The Simpsons, actually. I would love to see a Michael Cohen Simpsons character. That would be great.
Wouldn't that be something?
Right?
So look, yeah. I mean, you know the old expression, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. All right. I do truly believe that Donald Trump is now going to change exactly how coverage is going to be. I used to do this for more than 10 years where you express to them, I have every right to bring a lawsuit as a lawyer if I believe that that case is legitimate. So when I say, is it good? If it's good for the goose, it should be good for the gander. New York Post. Jeremy, put it up a sec. New York Post did an article about Alexander Smirnov when they turn around and they attack Joe Biden. See, it's got to be good for both sides. Clock is ticking for Joe Biden, calling him Joe Bribin, because they're very clever over there. FBI has secret file alleging that then Veep Biden took money from foreign national whistleblower. All right, let me go on. And let me show you, Mehdi Hassan actually put up this post. And I want to read it, and then I want to get your take on it. In it, he turns around and he goes, wasn't this the guy that House Republicans hung a lot of their anti-Hunter nonsense and conspiracies on? Will there be any acknowledgement from or apology from House Republicans? The answer being, of course not. And the article that they refer to as ex-FBI informant pleads guilty to making false bribery allegations about the Bidens. The guy acknowledged that he was lying. Do you see an apology from the Post to Joe Biden? No. Do you see you could drop that, Jeremy. Do you see a $15 million settlement? No. Well, why not? And what about all of the damage that gets done to people like me on a daily basis by them? They're all fighting for a breaking story. They don't do a scintilla of fact checking. And you know what? Trump has changed that. He has already changed that thanks to ABC Disney. Your take, Anthony.
It reminds me of paparazzi fighting to get a photograph, pushing past each other with their lenses, trying to get the photo that they can sell for the maximum amount of money. And it's a scrum. And it's exactly the same with the newspapers. And, people don't really know about newspaper ownership, do they? They don't, I don't think it's really part of the public psyche that, the New York, who owns the New York Post and all of these newspapers. I don't think people really care. And yet Donald Trump knows full well, and, the industry knows, but it's not something that really kind of crosses into the kind of public sphere. And so for those of us in the media, we're like, oh, well, that's just the New York Post. But to the public, they don't see it like that. They see it as a legitimate newspaper. I mean, the Washington Times is like owned by the Moonies or something. I mean, there is an insane amount of bias in the media, which people like Trump will take advantage of. And so my personal feeling is that, for-profit media is always going to do this. We were having the conversation about for-profit healthcare at the moment after the shooting of the United Healthcare boss. At least that's ignited a conversation. When is there going to be a conversation about for-profit media that will ultimately, as you just said, put the headline out first and worry about the consequences later? Because to them, it's just revenue.
It's only about revenue. Do you know there was an allegation that was raised that the $130,000 that was paid by me to Stormy Daniels, article came out by OAN, right-wing newspaper organization, that in fact it wasn't on behalf of Donald Trump, that it was I who had the affair, and Trump was covering for me because he's such a good friend. Wow. Now, let me be clear about something. OAN is the one and only news outlet that actually apologized to me and retracted the statement. And they did so because we threatened a lawsuit.
And they're small enough. They needed to grow. They weren't one of these giant networks that is all powerful. They were just getting their foot in the door in the media landscape.
That's right. And this is the problem. Again, I know this is going to sound strange, And my concierge doctor every day is literally calling and trying to push me to even speak to somebody, a therapist, because I have been literally abused with lies for over 6 years. I'm numb to it, or at least I try to give the projection of being numb to it. You can't imagine what it feels like to have something like this happen to you. Forget about one time. I'm talking about hundreds of times, day in and day out. Your face plastered all over the. Do you know when the whole bullshit on the Steele dossier came out? I turned around and said, I've never been to Prague. I even let a journalist by the name of Anthony Cormier, who at the time was with the Daily Beast, who actually is the one that put out the story first. I let him come and photograph my passport. I let him photograph every single page except for the first page that has all the identifying numbers on it. I let him photograph every single page so that he can see and he could post, I've never been to that part of the world. I just never have. I've been other places. It didn't matter. Then they turned around and said, yeah, well, if you weren't there, where were you? Oh, I was in Los Angeles. Yeah, what were you doing in Los Angeles? I was with my son at a baseball tryout for the USC Trojans. And they're like, oh, yeah? I'm like, yeah. Why don't you go speak to the coach and see whether or not I was there? And, the FBI actually did that. Then they said, well, maybe we got the day wrong. Where were you the day after? I was with Harvey Levin over at his new studio. All right. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, why don't you go ask him? Here's a picture of me in the studio with Harvey. Right. And they were like, well, maybe you left right after that. Well, but how? Going to fucking Dick's Sporting Goods and buying a kayak and going.
So you have to take a photo every day.
It's almost like you have to be on video,
right? Just to with some geolocation on it, just to prove who you are, where you are, and doing what you say you do. It is remarkable, but it's this mentality that got Princess Diana killed in a tunnel in Paris.
Yep.
Right? They don't care about your life, your mortality. It is about just getting the story, being first, right? Because, in England, we have a rule, supposedly in journalism, they don't really do it anymore, that you've got to have 2 confirmed sources on the story before you can run it.
Be legitimate confirmed sources, not just any source. And I'll go one step further here, because when Trump tells you, and I've been telling you this, I've been telling the country this, if this is what you want, then vote for Trump. And that's clearly what Americans wanted. They wanted somebody who's going to fuck the system up, going to change it. He wants to go after the IRS. And I turn around and I say, good. I am all for that. See, not every single thing that Donald Trump does, in my estimation, especially with my life experience, do I think is wrong.
But it's how he's going to do it is the issue, isn't it? And is he the right person to be doing it? Because we're all in agreement that the federal government is too big, that the IRS is too bloated. We're all in agreement that the system needs an overhaul, but we just don't want a criminal enterprise going about doing it and enriching themselves. Because if he privatizes USPS, you can guarantee that there is an ulterior motive, because he's untrustworthy. He is a lifelong criminal business guy.
Yes, but when you say he's untrustworthy, he said what he intends to do during the campaign, and he's living up to all of those promises. He says he wants to dismantle the IRS. Well, I say good fucking riddance. Do you know, not once but twice, the IRS, either through their agent, right, or a contractor. The first one was a guy named Jonathan Fry. The second one is a guy named Charles Edward Littlejohn. They have stolen my information, my tax documents going back 10 years, mine along with thousands of other people. All right, right here. Thousands of other people stolen it and put it out either on the dark web or gave it to somebody for an article, like the way the guy Jonathan Fry from San Francisco, from the IRS office there, gave it to Avenatti, who gave it to Ronan Farrow. I want to just read a quick paragraph from here so that our brigaders could understand. This stuff really hurts. This really, really hurts. It destroys you. It destroys everything about you. It turns around and says, from in or about 2018 until 2020, while defendant was working on an IRS contract, he stole tax returns and return information associated with public official A and thousands of the nation's wealthiest people, including returns and return information dating back more than 15 years. He thereafter disclosed the tax information associated with public official A to news organization 1 and the other tax information to news organization 2. Both news organizations published numerous articles describing the tax information they obtained from the defendant. This happened to me now twice. So when Trump turns around and says that the IRS needs to be basically burnt down to the ground and rebuilt because they're fucking inept, they are. They absolutely are.
Unfortunately, I'm not convinced that the changes that he's going to make are going to fix the kind of stuff that you're talking about.
You
right?
could be right,
yeah,
but we don't know.
Yeah,
right. Well,
I can't give him the benefit of the doubt. I just can't. But I
always say I don't have that crystal ball.
Yeah.
So, look, we're going to take our second ad and last ad break. We're going to come back with some final thoughts. Thanks, brigaders, and just thanks for being there for me. When I was in my early 20s, I developed an ear infection that caused me to lose, believe it or not, more than 80% of my hearing. And since then, it's actually gotten worse. But the truth is, I never bought a hearing aid out of vanity, despite my dad, who's an otolaryngologist and a diplomat in head and neck reconstructive surgery. He's an ENT surgeon. He sent me to his audiologist telling me to do so. And then I got my MD hearing aid and I couldn't be happier. My wife and my children couldn't be happier. You know why? Because they don't have to keep repeating themselves. And my friends, they don't worry where they sit anymore at the table because I can hear now from both sides. Which is why I'm excited to say that this podcast is sponsored by MD Hearing. MD Hearing is an FDA-registered, rechargeable hearing aid that costs a fraction of what typical hearing aids cost. MD Hearing's Neo model, that's the one that I have in my ear right now. It costs over 90% less than clinic hearing aids. The Neo fits right inside your ear, so no one will even know that it's there. Plus, MD Hearing just launched the Neo XS, MD Hearing's smallest hearing aid ever. MD Hearing recently cut their price in half. I mean, that means that you're going to get their high-quality, rechargeable digital hearing aid for only $297 a pair. In fact, I called Ben immediately after to tell him how great that they are. I mean, I can actually hear. I even called my dad, who wears the hearing aid himself, and I bragged to him about my new MD hearing aid. I mean, I told him it's just as good as premium quality hearing aids. And $297 a pair for a hearing aid? It's just crazy. MD Hearing was founded by an ENT surgeon, just like my dad, who saw how many of his patients needed hearing aids, but they couldn't afford them. Or, like me, vanity. He made it his mission to develop a quality hearing aid that anyone could afford. MD Hearing has sold over 1.9 million hearing aids, and they offer a 45-day risk-free trial with a 100% money-back guarantee. So you can buy with confidence. And if you're still on the fence about MD Hearing, they were just selected to be the hearing aid supplier for top Medicare Advantage plans. So they are a brand that you can trust. And look, here, I'll prove it to you. There's my hearing aid. You see how small this thing is? Yeah, and it goes right in too. So this holiday season, get the hearing aid you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com and use promo code BEAT to get a pair of hearing aids for just, again, $297. Plus, they're adding a free extra charging case. That's $100 value just for listeners of Political Beatdown. So go right now, that's shopmdhearing.com, and use our promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T, and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Again, shopmdhearing.com and use promo code BEAT, B-E-A-T. Go there now. Again, welcome back to Political Beatdown. Look, my brigaders. First of all, they happen to love you, Anthony. They think that this is a great conversation, which it is. And these types of conversations are essential going forward because you're not going to get this type of truth. A lot of people get angry at me, and it's okay. I get it. I really do. I get it. You really want 24/7 pounding on Trump and all of the sycophants and the acolytes that are surrounding him day in and day out. But that's not being honest to you. And here on the Midas Touch Network, on my Political Beatdown, my Mea Culpa podcast, the Legal AF, the Mycelis Brothers, on all of the assets of Midas Touch Network, you're only going to get the truth. And sometimes you don't like the truth. Sometimes you do like the truth. But you're always going to get the truth. And you take that information and you use it in a way that works for you. All right? Understand, I can say whatever it is that I want, and then you'll be like, yeah, great, yeah, Donald's the worst. But at the end of the day, again, his superpower has always been to distract you from the forest and just get you to concentrate on something which is true. It is real. The IRS is fucked up. The DOJ is fucked up. How does an attorney general, Bill Barr, weaponize the Department of Justice to have me unconstitutionally remanded back to more solitary confinement that brought it up to 51 days because I refused to sign a document that doesn't even exist, a counterfeit document? Think about that and understand that when I'm telling you that what Donald Trump is doing, again, is making you only look at the tree and ignoring everything else. Yes, the DOJ needs massive overhaul, but my fear is what's going to replace it.
Can I ask you a question, Michael? Because there's a theory, and you knowing him, I'm sure will have a really good idea about this. He knows that his tariffs plan is probably going to crash the U.S. economy. But he wants to crash the U.S. economy, or his enablers want him to crash the U.S. economy because it's useful to them. And it's all part of the deconstruction, not just of the administrative state, but also of, the American system. Mm-hmm. Do you think that he wants to preside over a successful economy? Of course, he presided over Obama's successful economy back in 2017. And then, COVID changed that.
Sure, but remember,
and he's getting a strong economy now.
He's getting a stronger economy under Biden than he received under Obama,
which is why he's talking down on it, and that's why he's saying it's the worst economy, because in 2 months' time he could say, "Look what I did." As the graph continues to improve, he'll be like, "I brought down inflation even further. Look at me." Yes. But there is this kind of underground theory that the tariffs, there's always a 2-year delay, if not longer, in a lot of these plans. Do you think that if the U.S. economy takes a tumble because of these tariffs, that was an intentional part of this Project 2025 and MAGA plan for, deconstruction rather than reconstruction?
I don't think that Trump wants to tank the economy, and I'm not certain how the tariff system is going to work. But again, brigaders, please understand, I don't like to be repetitive, but sometimes you have to be. The tree versus the forest. When he isolates and points out, for example, that the United States pays more to Canada by like $100 billion than we receive from them. Free trade is not necessarily fair trade. And that's what he's calling for. And that concept is legitimate. The problem, though, is this notion that the United States manufactures anything. We do not. 80% of our goods comes from abroad, with the bulk of it coming from China. So if you go ahead and you, for example, put 100% tariff on China. What do you think is going to happen? Who do you think is going to end up having to pay the differential? In fact, economists, and I read this article the other day, claim that if Trump does with the tariffs that he says he will with China alone, the cost of goods to the consumer will be 175% more than what we are paying today.
Yeah. Start buying all your gear now. Buy your computers now. Buy your cars now. You know, this is and people are doing it. You know, people who have read the same articles as you as I have, because it's pretty much unanimous from the top economists that they all think that Trump's plan for the economy, which isn't really a plan, it's just a sentence, isn't it? It's about tariffs. Mm-hmm. There's no detail, including going after our true closest trading partners, Mexico and Canada, who are friends, not foes. He does have this thing where, like, you have to prove your loyalty to him.
Yes.
So, meanwhile, the whole of NATO, which of course I have no doubt that he wants to exit from, but you know, NATO members are scrambling, repositioning their military, repositioning their frigates around the world, because they fear that they won't be able to rely on the United States going forward. I mean, he is causing so much turmoil, and he has no idea. He's like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, and that's always been his style, and it has worked for him.
But that's fine in real estate.
Well,
but not when you're the most powerful man on the planet.
Yeah,
I hate having to say that about him.
It's supposed to not be the methodology that's used in government, but then again. Yeah. If government wasn't as fucked up as it is, and dysfunctional and incompetent, Trump would not have been reelected by a plurality. Let's be honest about that. In fact, you know, I always do a two-finger salute. The two-finger salute today is going to go to the media. It's going to go to the mainstream or lamestream media, as Donald likes to call it, or cable news media, or the journalists that decide that they were not going to do their homework. They just needed to get the assignment out because they had to be the first one to obtain clickbait so that they could end up making money onto it, and that making money that gives them the ability to get ads, and then the ad revenue gets flowed down to the shareholders and blah, 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 blah. To you guys, fuck you. Because what you did is you gave Donald the ability to actually go ahead and say that the media is fake news. Because all you need to do is to be not just wrong once. Once is bad enough. But 100 times, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, simply because you're trying to outfox some kid who started his own blog in his basement.
I would say to that, and the story that came out about Trump trying to now filing a lawsuit against the Des Moines Register newspaper and its pollster, Ann Seltzer, accusing them of consumer fraud and election interference over a poll from before the election that showed Kamala Harris leading Donald Trump in Iowa. I mean, is that not a perfect example of what we're discussing, this authoritarianism, where Donald Trump is seeking retribution? A pollster has never been sued by a president in history. The poll is a poll. It's not gospel. It is a sense of what might be happening with voters. And for Donald Trump to be so insecure, to be such an egomaniac, that he wants to try and prove a point to a pollster. Pollsters are not well-paid people. That this is worth suing is an example of where we're going to head with this.
And I predict that he will be successful in that lawsuit as well. Believe it or not, I believe he will be 100%. I think he will be successful into it in one of two ways. He may not actually win the lawsuit. That wasn't always the plan.
It's the noise.
The plan is to bankrupt the Des Moines Register and teach everybody else a lesson. Look what I did to them. I can do it to you. All I know is when he sued me for $500 million in the Southern District of Miami, we didn't even get to depositions. I had to file motion after motion after motion simply to get him to appear for depositions. 3 days before the deposition, he dropped the case. And, yeah, it was a win, but it cost me, and many brigaders actually helped me to pay for it, cost me over $300,000. You think the Des Moines Register can afford to fight? And Donald Trump just doesn't have money. He has money, all right? He's got money behind all of these tech billionaires, Elon Musk alone. He's got money behind money.
I saw a clip of him talking about how yet again he's going to not be taking his presidential salary, which is a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of money that he made last time when he was, just through his hotels and through, foreign people currying favor with him and paying into the pot. It's the distraction. It's like the whole thing is a confidence trick. And for him, the presidency is an opportunity to grift at, this goes way beyond gold sneakers. This is a much bigger grift than that. Branded Bibles and all that stuff, which he's not going to stop doing. I mean, he's not even divesting of his business interests this time because he knows that no one can tell him not to. He cares nothing for the Logan Act or the Hatch Act. He cares nothing for the protocols. He thinks this time that he is king. And my greatest fear is that anybody that bows down to that is really contributing to this rise of authoritarianism that is already here.
And getting bad. So, brigaders, again, thank you for joining Anthony and I during this hour of Political Beatdown. Please do me a favor, make sure that you check out my Mea Culpa podcast. It's the one with the blue background icon. Also join me. Yep, that one, the blue background icon, not the red, the blue. You can also check out my YouTube channel, The Michael Cohen Show. I break all of this stuff down in about 12-minute or so segments. Please subscribe, share with your friends. Extremely, extremely important. Patreon. We're going to be doing one next week. So join us with Patreon. Jeremy, do you have the Patreon thing? I forget it. It's patreon.com. You can go there /Political Beatdown, where you're going to go one-on-one with us. You can ask me any question that you want. Ben and I, obviously, if he ends up coming back from DC, will be joining you again sometime next week. All right. Have a great one. We'll be back. We'll be seeing you again on Thursday. Hopefully. By the way, I don't mind, Anthony, if it's going to be you. How's that?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so sweet.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Take care.
All right. Boom.